Hello, friends. I have some thoughts, some things to share with you. I've been thinking a lot lately. I'm usually doing that. In my previous two videos, I was talking about some love and heartbreak. So if you have any thoughts about that or you're going through any of that kind of stuff attached to mood swings or depression or any kind of feelings at all, give those a watch. And if you think that you can use them, use that kind of conversation talk. I'm going to talk about suicide. So if you're not wanting to hear about suicide, you're probably going to want to take off. If you're still here and you want to listen to what I have to say about it, I won't be graphic or anything. I am going to talk about it a little bit though. I wanted to talk about the things that I are usually thinking about when I'm extremely depressed. I'll just put it that way. Or low. Low. And there's nothing there, and it's not looking good. Generally, I'm thinking about things that are not good about life. And I generally do not have a good feeling about my surroundings, about individuals, period. And I'm wanting to avoid people. I'm wanting to avoid myself, and there is no avoiding myself. I wake up and I'm still in my same skin, and I gotta carry on or not. And that's the solution to a lot of what I'm thinking about for days and nights, and in my dreams and in my daydreaming and whatever else. It's suicide. To clarify, I'm not ever going and getting any kind of materials to do it, or thinking to myself exactly what I have to do at that very moment to go and do it. Those times of my life are only a handful. I've only There's only been maybe 3 or 4 times in my entire life when I'm actually thinking of everything that I'm gonna do, that I have everything lined up and I'm out of here. And then I'll have what I'll do is I'll break down mentally to a point where my mind kicks in an emergency type thing, and I think this is instinctual. Things flip flop, and then I go to thinking of all the things that I've got to do to get out of this hole, to save myself, because I'm so close. Maybe I'm getting scared or whatever with no feeling. I'm thinking about generally humanity. I'm thinking about not thinking about how people can be loving and do kind things. I'm only thinking about how people lie, they screw over a lot of people, and not everyone is so extreme about this. They're not they're not waking up at the beginning of the day all the way to the end of the day predatorial, just targeting people, soft targets, just to take, lie all day long. And that's their existence. And this is something that I'm usually thinking about. And then it makes me more depressed. And if you notice the patterns here, I'm getting into more of a hole. So for anyone else out there, if you're going through depression and you're thinking, okay, I'm just going to eat crap food because I don't care. I'm going to not, I'm going to use these drugs because I don't care. Or I'm going to drink alcohol because I don't care. That's depression. So any kind of rationality or any kind of reasoning that you can have during depression, it's possibly going to be something that you have to write down beforehand, that you have on the wall or somewhere in a private that you can go to and look at, and you can listen to your reasonable, rational self when you're not depressed, and then you know that there's things that you can go do to get yourself closer and away from depression. Ultimately, suicide, getting away from going toward that. Another thing that I think about during that time is my self-worth and my value towards other people. And when I'm not depressed, I think more of myself, and it's not a mystery at all that is a part of depression, is the evaluation of one's existence. And I think this is a checking system put inside of our instincts to evaluate whether or not we're going to kill ourselves, to end our lives. So I'm thinking about that, and when I'm thinking about my worth and all that, it does have to do with, well, what have I done with myself? And my scope can be narrow, super, super narrow. As if I'm tricking myself, and I'm not being reasonable with myself. My mind's not open to thinking about every single thing that I've ever done in my entire life. I'm thinking about times that I've done something hurtful to someone else, or I said something hurtful, or my mind will recall those things. I think about capitalism. I think about how that is not something that I feel too good about in general ever. And then that starts to turn through my head, making me ask myself, how much do I understand it? How much do I understand true value in life? The things that are valuable to you. Now, this is something that I said to my sister one time, because we were talking about these kinds of things, and I said to her, of all things that you can have in life that are other people's telling you that this is awesome, this is the greatest things, and then you accumulate that inside of your mind, thinking that these are awesome things in life. And did you ever say, okay, this is my identity, these are the things that I love in life, and it's a little closer to realizing the value of things that you are holding on to? So then the capitalism and all that stuff, it's training you and letting you know how to live your life, which is convenient for other people up at the top somewhere, and not you. So this takes me back to other people. And I personally, when I see what people gravitate towards in life, it makes me want less to do with them. It makes me want to have less to do with society, and it makes me want to have less to do with people that have been close to me in my life, because I see what they're veering off to and digging, and it's in my opinion, crap. It's something that takes you to a place in your life where there's only going to be more emptiness. And this is even shittier for a person that's already feeling empty because of depression and mental health that they were born with. So I've got that anyway. I get to live with a certain amount of emptiness anyways, just because my brain makeup, that's the way my brain functions. I do lack the reward system in my brain. I lack the if is this good enough, is this good enough, and the content portion to life. I am a hungry person. I want more out of life. The only problem is I know that if I go for more and more and more and more, it doesn't do much for me because my brain. So I can understand why other people are going to go for these things that lead to emptiness, because you're only going to have so much dopamine in your brain and you got to recharge that all the time. I think this is one reason why people have empty, fake, superficial relationships, because they can feed off of that halfway their love. They feel great from that. And they can X that person out, no problem, because they can go to another person, especially if they have the ability to do that. As long as they can keep right in that buzz, there's no problem. Another thing that I think about when I'm suicidal is all the things that I've got to do to take care of before. And more so in the later years of my life, I'll get out of that kind of thinking right away, because I can identify that that's depression. I can identify even more so now in my life that I'm in a depression for days and days. I know when I've hit that area, and I can identify, and then I'm resting, I'm doing everything, no appetite at all, no. My weight comes down a lot, and this generally has a lot to do with anxiety taking me to being exhausted and losing weight, and then getting to the point where I'm in a different kind of depression. I'm not in a mood swing kind of depression. Now I'm hitting a low that will carry me for days and weeks, maybe at most a month. So then I have what shows more as bipolar type situation. Though if you knew me, you'd know that my moods are so far out, and I can be erratic, and I can go any way at any time. Not when I'm real depressed. So anyways, those are some of the things that I think about. Some of the main things that I think about when that's getting ready to come around. So I've got to get through it, and I got to get to a point where I feel my body going the other way. So I'd say that was yesterday. I was hitting the peak of my low. I was curled up like a baby in a chair with nothing inside. And I just sat there. No interest, no nothing. I said to myself, just sit here. And that's rough for me to do, because I don't like things to be still. I like to keep doing things. So some of the other things I was going to talk about that are on my mind is this whole time that I went through this depression, this last couple of weeks. What's different about this one is I didn't go to alcohol. So I was thinking about how if there's for anyone that is an alcoholic such as myself or drug addiction, if they have any kind of low such as that, that's what I was thinking. I don't have anything right now because this is the way I'm thinking. I'm alone. I don't have anything right now that'll make me feel good. That will put that good feeling inside of me. And you can get that from the drugs. You can get that from the alcohol. Which there's plenty of times that I've not felt good, that I've gone to alcohol, and I didn't feel good as I'm drinking it. So it's up in the air whether or not it's ever gonna make me feel good. Well, this time through, I went the whole way through, and I didn't have. I thought about how the alcohol has something to do with it. I didn't think about how I wanted to do that. So since I've been sober, I've had time to realize how much alcohol brings the body down physically. So that is such a shitty thing. I think I'm getting to the point in my life where I understand, and I'm thinking to preserve myself, even though I can have self-loathing and all that. I still realize too much, even in the pits of depression, that alcohol is gonna take my body to shittier places. And remember, the alcohol and the drugs are always going to be junk going into your system that's going to make you go into depression more often and have more mood swings more often, more extreme mood swings more often. And alcohol was definitely making me mean. I was getting mean. So if I had one more beer or if I had this, my thoughts were getting meaner, and if I was talking to someone or whatever, I was being mean. So once I stopped drinking the alcohol, that slowly went away, and I noticed that I'm not as mean. So if you are in a relationship with someone and you're not being nice or as nice as you know you can be, look at the alcohol or the drugs. Because keep that in mind too, that drugs are going to bring on erratic behavior the further you get into them. Maybe not right now. Once you're using them enough and your body's exhausted and your mind is changing, you're going to turn out to be more mean, generally. Maybe not for some people. So as I was saying, with the anxiety leading to exhaustion, leading to depression. The anxiety is the obsessions and the constant thinking. If I'm doing that, which I'm always going to do, always done it my entire life, and I'm going to do it for the rest of my life. If someone was to tell me, yeah, just don't think as much, they don't understand that anxiety is something that's always going to be there. So there's different ways that anxiety pops up in my life. Say something happened, something shitty happened, some kind of loss or whatever. My mind goes into, and this is what I think, the body goes into a redoing the brain in a way. And these are people that are more prone to things being traumatic. So even a medium type thing can be way more traumatic to one person than it could be to another person. And this is where you're hurt. This is where your mind is hurt. And this is where I say a piece of me dies. And it's what it feels like. A piece of me dies. And then I'm not the same person the next day for the rest of my life. And then I go on to the next time that happens. I'm not the same person. I'm more distant from people, and I'm less, even more so, less trusting. It's just not going to happen. I'm not going to trust anyone. And then now it's even worse, which is a problem, because having people in your life is a part of good health. It's a part of having oxytocin chemical. It's a part of feeling love. It's a part of, if you feel loved, then you have, your health is better. It's no doubt about that. So anxiety, obsessions, and the body going through that. I'm saying that this is a part of the depression in this time, is the body going through all the ways inside your head, reforming what you've got to do to survive. So if you've been burned, your mind's got to go through all the different ways. And if you have super anxiety, you're going to go through it way more than other people, how not to get burned, or how not to be around these kinds of people that are going to take advantage of you, in comparison to someone that is a person that just takes advantage of people. That's how their minds are forming. And then my mind is forming towards to not be taken advantage. And that's just the way, the brain I was born with, to live that way, to protect myself, not needing to be a predator. So if you're thinking about suicide, and you're thinking about it often, or you're actually thinking about doing it and you're watching this, because I'm probably going to put suicide in the title, call someone. So what I did yesterday morning was I texted my sister, and I asked her to give me a call if she was available, if it was had a couple minutes. And she called me within 2 minutes. What's the matter? Because I don't do that often. So I say, yeah, I'm not doing too good. And I got to talk to you about a couple things that are bothering me. Okay. And she sat there and listened to me. And she offered a couple of things. And that was about it. And we talked for a couple minutes. No resolve to anything. It just made me feel a little better that someone was there, someone cared, and that someone happens to be someone that I care about. So it reminds me that when you stay alive, you're also staying alive to not hurt other people. So if you can weather through these times, and if you feel things are crunching down on you in life, and if you don't know if you can keep up with it, because that's one of the worst things about a low depression, is if you can muster up enough to take care of everything that you've got going on in your life. If you think that you've gotten to that point where you have too many things in your life, then get through this depression episode, and then start, after that, realize that some things are going to possibly have to go in your life. Which I don't think a lot of people want to go there, because then that makes them less attractive. Because that's what makes us so attractive, is because we have so many things going for ourselves. We've kept up so many wonderful things, and then that's an attractive thing. Well, ask yourself then, if you're getting exhausted from keeping up these things, what can you lose? What can you take out? And probably more vain things. And ask yourself, who's been hanging out with you anyway for because of all of your attraction. Are those people, do they really care about you, or are they just attracted to what they can take from you? I'd say that's the usual. So call someone. Just take the day if you have to. If you really think that you're at your end, you're not. You're not. And as always, all the depressions I've been in, they pass. And then it's like the sun coming through, where I see it coming through, and then within a couple of days, my mind's going again. And I don't know how many of these I can go through anymore. I don't know, because that's a shitty feeling, a shitty thought, is knowing that I'm gonna go through this again and again and again. And some of them are going to be, and I might, and it's real possible that I'm not going to make it through one of them. If not, I made it through a whole lot of other ones, and I tried, and I did everything that I can up to that point at least. So I always have that in mind. So I was going to tell you about 3 or 4 nights ago, I was depressed, real depressed, and I have, since I have all these mood swings, and I'm not always the same person, I keep my days similar. So my weeks look about the same usually. So there's certain nights that I go to the grocery store, and I get myself to go, and I really don't think about much. I just autopilot. I go. So I go to the grocery store, and I'm leaving, and I drive, and I'm at a light, and it's at about 11 p.m. There's no one around. It's just me, and then a guy pulls up, and we're on this side, the left side, to go straight across. It's a red light, and it's stupid, because these stupid red lights just sit there forever, and and you know this, there's no one around. This is on the outside of town, so there's not many houses or anything out there. There's not many cars. It's just me and this person. We're sitting there and sitting there and sitting there. And even I had the feeling, I'm just going to go. Fuck it. I just said, nah, I'm just going to sit here, because this is a big intersection. A big one. This guy, he's got maybe 3 seconds until it turns yellow. He goes, and he starts driving off, and I'm looking at him, and he's not looking. He's looking to the left. And I hear someone punch the gas. I just hear a burr me, because they want to get to the yellow. And they're coming up a hill. And if this person wasn't doing that, and if this person wasn't doing that, this wouldn't happen. I just, right here in my eyes, I just see, bang! I just see this car just slam into this fucking car. And it's huge. And I see the fucking cars going spinning around, pieces of it. And I was so depressed. And I wanted to bring this up because I want to make it a point that if you're having issues with life during depression, and you have people blaming you, and you have people leaving you because you're depressed and all that, just know that you do not have to apologize for depression. Maybe apologize if you didn't do anything during the times that you weren't depressed to take care of yourself, so you weren't so depressed all the time. Maybe that only. I sat there for a second, and I just said, whoa, fuck. And I didn't feel shit. I didn't think anything. I didn't go into a panic. I didn't go into oh no, this and this. I just was sitting there thinking to myself, well, the light's green. I could just go, or I can go and find out if one of these people is alive or whatever. The way they hit, there was no. They didn't. They hit the back of a truck. So the truck spun around, and I got out of the car, and I walked across the intersection, making sure there wasn't any freaking cars coming.
which here I am putting my life, because standing in the middle of an intersection, I walk across, and the front end of this car was gone, and all the airbags and everything. And I said, "Hey, are you okay? Are you okay?" I made sure the other one, he was just sitting there. I said, "Yeah, you okay?" He said, "Yeah, I'm okay." Okay, all right. So I'm talking to this. Hey, come out. Are you okay? Whatever. This little lady gets out of her car and she comes right up to me. "You hit me," and I'm thinking to myself, what a fucking bitch, man. I I instantly making judgment that I fucking hit her. I said, "No, I didn't hit you. That guy fucking hit you." And he's sitting there looking at us. And I said, "Nah, it's not me. I'm making sure that you're okay, you asshole." And that goes to show you the moods where I'm not in a mood at all for anyone's bullshit. And here I am making sure that a stranger's okay. And I didn't have to do it. Because cars are all over the damn place. As soon as I was over there talking to the lady, another guy hopped out. He was all freaking out. Okay. Goes to show you the difference between me and him. I'm just sitting there, whatever. And all these people are pulling up, getting frantic. I mean, because this was a big one. And I just turned around, walked away, got in my shit, just drove off. And all of them are just sitting there looking at me. Like I had just done the worst fucking thing ever because I didn't stay. And the only thing I felt about the whole thing was that lady instantly just hopped out of her car and fucking blamed me. I was just thinking to myself, what a fucking asshole, man. That's the only feeling I had of the whole thing. And when I got back to my place, I was just sitting there thinking about how I just don't care. And other people that had been the main thing of their lives for weeks that happened, that they saw that they'd have to get over that and all that, because it was such a strange thing. It was so strange how that whole thing happened. And I suppose anytime that you ever see any of that kind of stuff being so strange, of course it's going to be strange, because I mean, it's just got to have to be some weird stuff for people to do for that to happen, because everything is all lined up when you're driving around. So I just thought it was interesting how something that happened outside of myself, I didn't feel anything at all. And it reminded me of how empty I can be. And that goes over into relationships with people, and how I can, if I'm in a depression and someone tells me something about their day or their problems, and I gotta say to myself that I'm in autopilot to listen to, yeah, that's awful, yeah, that's horrible, yeah, I don't care, because I don't care about anything. So I realized if someone was to hand me $1 million or whatever, I'd probably not care. How is it any different? If someone wanted to be intimate with me or whatever, sexually, I'd not want to, because I know how that goes. I could just turn off. I can be into it, and then I can turn off. Gone. Don't want it. Don't want to be. I want you to go away from me is what I want. I want you to go away, and how fast can we make that happen? And then I look cold, and I look like an asshole. And if you are wanting to have a lasting relationship with someone, you gotta have tricks, so that way you can still have someone around.
It hurts me a lot to admit that, and it hurts me a lot to say that. That I self-reflection to really realize that I've got to have some kind of manipulation patterns where I can get along with someone. And I don't think that there's anything the matter with that, because as I said, I'm not going to apologize for mental health. I'm not going to apologize for the brain that I was born with. And even worse is if I'm with someone and they know, and I've explained to them, and I've let them know that this is what happens with me. And they'll say, "Yeah, okay, well, I understand. And then when it does happen, nope, they're not remembering it. They just take it personal every time. And it's, you're an asshole, get away from me. Or I'm leaving you. I don't want anything to do with you. Story of my life. No one around." So that's a bit of a problem. So those are some of the things I was going to bring up. There was one last thing I was going to bring up, and something I've been looking at. If you have issues with attention, or your children have attention issues, consider looking at the Feingold diet, whatever, FIEND, Gold, GOLD. They want $70 to send you a 200 food list of foods that you could go buy, which is stupid. If you look directly at what it is that you're avoiding, then if you buying packaged food, you just look at the stupid ingredients. You have to pay them $70 for it. If it's good for you, check it out. It's TBHQ food preservative and any kind of food coloring. Red 40, yellow 5, blue, whatever. It'll usually always say that. And if any food ever says natural flavoring or artificial flavoring, that's open territory for them to put some nasty stuff into your food. And if anything says natural flavoring or artificial flavoring, it's probably something that you want to eat very little of, if at all. Well, the TBHQ, as I was reading, affects the eyes, and it affects the liver, enlarges the liver, and it enlarges the intestines. So if you're eating Top Ramen all the time, or you're eating Reese's Buttercups, or Little Debbie foods, or any of that kind of stuff, it's something that they put inside of fats so that fats don't go rotten inside of your foods that you buy. If that's the total reason. Well, if you're eating too much of this stuff, and your eyes are going to shit, and your guts are going to shit, and you're having stomach issues and diarrhea and all those types of things, take a look at what you've been eating. TBHQ. And this is also a part of the attention issues that you're possibly having. And there's one video that I was watching where if you look up Feingold's and you look up that on YouTube, if you look up relevant, or you switch the filter to more recent, I think it doesn't matter either way, because I don't think there's very many videos on that. It's an older gal that was saying a presentation type thing, showing children's drawings and writings from when they're eating these kinds of foods and not eating these kinds of foods. And they were showing the kids were having more dyslexia type situation. And then when they stopped and they hadn't taken any of these foods for a couple of months, that the children were writing and reading without dyslexia. And if you are not knowing this your entire life, and you're always eating these kinds of foods, and you're always having this problem, and the medical people are always telling you, oh, this is what you are, have a thought about that the root
that the cause and effect of something, what is it? Do we know? If they just say, "Oh, you have irritable bowel," or whatever, okay, well, maybe that's what it was. Because I personally always have stomach issues. So that's something to consider. Some information to think about. And the food coloring, that's an actual dye. That's an actual ink that they put into the food. So if you're ever doing any painting or any of that kind of stuff, or using inks for your pens or whatever, that's that's the same stuff that they're putting inside your food, and you're eating that. And that affects behavior in some people. So something to consider. And that's about all I have to say today. And glad if I had some useful information on some of those things that I was talking about. And if you are ever thinking about suicide or whatever, and you're not feeling too good and you're feeling lonely, I extend myself to you. You can always write me up. I know they don't have any kind of personal messaging on here. You can go ahead and just do general talk with me on here and not even bring it up if you don't want to. You could just say, "Hey, how are you doing?" And if I'm around and I by my phone, I'll get on and I'll say hi. I'll say hi and I'll talk with you for a few minutes. And if you do let me know that if you're not feeling too good, then I'll be more understanding because I know. So take care of yourselves. If you have any questions or anything like that, feel free to talk. Goodbye.